Welcome back. I'm Locke Meredith with Legal Lines. Again, we've been talking about the use of experts in trial, and of course we've already talked with Mr. Lipinski. He's a rehab expert. And today we've also got on the show Mr. Greg Ellis. Greg, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Locke.
Tell us what you do. What's your profession?
Profession by trade, by education is a CPA. Started practicing, I guess, back in 1981 after graduating from LSU with a BS in accounting. And since then have had my own practice since 1987.
Now tell me about all the initials after your name. I know you got 3 different kind of certifications. What do those mean?
Certified Public Accountant, received that designation as an accountant and have a public accounting practice. Certified Valuation Analyst is another designation that I received in order to do business valuations of small, closely held companies. And then Certified Fraud Examiner allows me to go in and do, let's call it forensic type accounting on situations that may dictate that.
Go back and kind of put the puzzle back together and figure out where it went.
Exactly.
Okay. Tell me how your education and expertise kind of comes in useful for me as a trial litigator. Basically, I hire you to come in and help the judge and jury, and frankly me too, decide what amount of money is necessary to compensate my client for his losses. So what information do you use to do that?
The information I typically get, most cases that I see are going to involve wage losses, both past and future. They're going to,
when we say past and future, we're talking about wages that they've lost since the date of the injury.
Date of injury forward, that's correct.
And then we got another date that's important, that's the date of trial.
That's correct.
So what we're looking at is how much has this fellow lost, or this lady lost, from the date of the accident until the trial. That's what we're calling past loss wages.
That's correct.
And then we're saying what is the amount of money that this person's going to lose from the date of trial until into the future, based on when the doctors say they'll be able to go back to work, if they can go back to work.
That's correct.
And that's what you're defining as future
loss wages. That's your future loss wages.
Okay.
That's right.
So we talk about wages. What other aspect do we talk about?
We also look at medical.
And kind of the same analysis. What are the medical expenses incurred from the date of the injury until the date of trial? And then what, based on the medical testimony, are going to be the projected medical expenses in the future?
That's correct.
All right. What else do you look at?
Look at discount rates, a very important factor, because what we're trying to do when it's all said and done is put the injured party in a position today of an amount of money that will compensate he or she for future either lost wages, future medical, future fringe benefits. We want to know what that would take today.
Let's talk about the fringe benefits. We're talking about life insurance that the employer may pay, profit sharing that the employer might pay, I guess bonuses.
What we've seen in certain cases, you may have an injured party that may have been provided an annuity, let's say. They would have been with an employer for 20 years. They get an annuity for life when retired. Well, if they are injured prior to that accident, what we will have to determine is how much money is this individual been shorted, let's say.
So the fringe benefits is really just another type of compensation the person was earning. It's just not the direct wages.
That's correct.
All right, and you talked about the discount rate. The way I've always thought about it is the bottom line, come the day of trial, we know what the past losses are. Past wages based on what they were earning before, what their past medical expenses are. We know that's what they've incurred. So when we're using the term discount rate, what we're talking about is how do we determine the amount of money they need today to compensate them for their future lost wages and future medical expenses? And we know that if I get money today, I can invest it somewhere and earn interest.
Right.
So I don't need as much. It's not, this figure may be $2 million, but really if I get $1 million today, properly conservatively invested, earning interest, it'll be $2 million as I need it.
That's correct.
And so that's what we're looking. We're saying this might be the $2 million number, but we got to discount it to a number that they can get today to provide the money necessary to deal with the lost wages.
That's correct.
Same thing for the future medical expenses. The money's going to earn. But here's another factor that you consider, I know, based on our dealings, the fact that, let's face it, most folks get an increase in wages.
That's
they get
correct.
raises. And so it's got to be adjusted for that. It's not just, you're not using the amount of wage they're earning today for the entire, say, 30-year period of time, if that's what a doctor says they're never going to work. Also, expenses go up, don't they?
They sure do, in medical especially.
And so what you look at is, as I understand it, federal documentation, federal studies and statistics that tell you this is, given this type of projected medical expense and need, this is what we expect the growth to be. Explain that to me.
Well, one of the major components, especially in the medical, when it comes to future medical, is going to be the growth rate in medical. We've all seen medical go up with health insurance, with medical care costs, physicians, etc. One of the areas that a lot of people utilize would be the Consumer Price Index, which is is governmental information that's published that allows us to go in and determine, on average, here's what these medical expenses, I mean, we have no crystal ball to know what medical expenses are going to be 30 years from now, but we can look historically and say the last 10 years, here's what they've been.
Right.
Same thing with labor costs. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We can go in, look at the same type of information to determine what labor growth in a particular sector of a work that this individual may have been working, what has been the historical growth rates.
So a pipe fitter, we can look statistically using the government data. A pipe fitter historically his wages will increase, say, 5% a year or 1% a year, 2% a year. A lot of times that's controlled by union contracts, though, isn't it?
That's correct.
That makes it easy.
It makes it very easy. That's right.
Now, another factor I know you've used based on our dealings is how old the person is, their educational background, and the type of work they're doing. Why is that relevant?
Again, with the published information for the work-life tables. For example, if we have a 28-year-old individual, we know that he probably has about 31 years of remaining work life, assuming his educational background. Let's say he went through high school, and assuming also his race. All of this is published information by the government, and it will vary by occupation. It will vary by race. And so on and so forth.
Male and female too, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So the bottom line is the government has compiled information, historical in nature, looking at the past, and they say if you're this age and you're doing this kind of job and you have this education, statistically, on average, we can project that you're going to work this many years. And obviously the harder it is, that is, the harder your job, the more manual labor, the more wear and tear you have on yourself physically, and the lower your education. Statistically, based on my experience, the government says you're not going to work as long. Your work life history is not
That'd be correct.
Not that long.
Yeah.
Now that analysis is only relevant for wages. It's different for a person for future medical expenses. There you're looking at how long you project them to live.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Greg, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate it. We'll be right back, Locke Meredith with Legal Lines, and we're going to talk about the use of experts.